Heredity or environment. Today we're going to explore how short and long-term environmental changes affect organisms and traits in subsequent populations. For your starter, DDT is a pesticide that was once widely used to control agricultural pests and mosquitoes. However, this pesticide caused the eggshells of certain birds, including the brown pelican, to become fragile and thin. The adults would then accidentally crush the eggs while trying to incubate them. What happened to brown pelican populations as a result of DDT use by humans? So this would be a long-term effect. It's pollution. And what you see here is that the populations of brown pelicans decreased as fewer eggs survived long enough to hatch. Galapagos Island tortoises. The Galapagos Islands were formed through volcanic activity. The habitat of each island varies from barren rock to areas rich with vegetation. The islands support a wide variety of organisms, including the tortoises. The traits of tortoises found on the islands vary. So there are dome tortoises, and these are the characteristics of the dome tortoise. Their traits, we can say the dull brown dome-shaped shell. They have a short neck and short legs. Largest body size of the tortoises. Large shell provides protection. So this is the domed tortoise. The saddleback tortoises traits: dull brown flat shell shaped like a saddle, long neck and legs, smaller of the tortoises. The shell contains a cutout that allowed the tortoise to extend its neck. So you can see they're kind of opposite here in their traits. Tortoises are herbivores, meaning they eat only producers. A drought recently hit one of the islands covered by the grasses and low-lying shrubs. Number one, which tortoise would survive and reproduce in drought conditions? Remember, drought is where there's no water for long periods of time. So this is the environmental change, okay? And this environmental change could be long-term. So which tortoise, based on its traits, would survive a drought? So you have to think grasses and low-lying shrubs. So probably the tortoise with the long neck and leg. Okay, so he could reach producers that are higher up off the ground. Okay, he also has a cut that allows the tortoise to extend its neck to reach producers that are higher, because the low-lying shrubs were hit or destroyed by the drought. Number two, which traits would you expect to see in future populations of tortoises? So you would see these traits because these tortoises were able to get the resources, the biotic factors, the food, because they had the longer neck and the cutout that allows them to reach. So these guys would survive because they get the resources, and then they would reproduce, and their offspring would carry these favorable traits to the next generation. Where the dome tortoise, because he could not adapt to the change in the environment, would die out and become extinct. So again, what we're looking at are environmental changes. In this situation, it was a long term, and we see a change in organisms and traits in subsequent populations due to that environmental change. So you would type your answers here in the pink box. On the next slide, I'm going to read to you an article on heredity or environment, and you're going to complete these sentence stems below using the article. So I'm going to click here on the hyperlink, it will bring me to this article, and I'm just going to read it to you, and then you can answer the questions. In a later unit, we'll be discussing how genetics and DNA allows us to understand and predict how traits are passed from parents to offspring during reproduction. Some traits, however, are affected by both genetics and interactions with the environment. For example, identical twins have exactly the same genes but can develop differently if their nutrition or other conditions in the environment are not the same. Today, we will look at how environmental conditions, such as the amount of sunlight, chemicals and pH, temperature and nutrition, can affect or change the expression of some genetic traits. Temperature plays an important role in the development of the dark spots on the legs, tail, and face of some cat breeds. Siamese cats are born almost completely white and develop dark points as they get older because of body temperature differences. The cooler areas of the cat's body, such as nose, ears, legs, and tail, get darker. The torso area of the cat remains lighter because body temperature is warmer. This is one example of how an environmental factor, temperature, plays a role in the expression of an inherited trait. And here you see that Siamese cat, and then later on, due to the temperature, they develop those darker spots. Temperature can also cause the color of an Arctic fox's or Arctic hare's coat to change according to the season. Temperature-sensitive chemicals in the skin of these animals produce pigments that darken the coat during the warmer summer months. During the cold winter months, the pigments are not produced, which result in a white winter coat for the Arctic animals. The change in color helps camouflage the animals during each season because the white coat blends in with the snow and the brown summer coat blends in with the grasses and soil. The amounts of sun is another factor that can affect the coat conditions of animals. Providing extra hours of artificial light during fall and winter can prevent animals from growing a thick winter coat. People who raise and show livestock often regulate the amount of light in the animal's stall to maintain a sleek show coat throughout the year. They must also blanket the animal to keep them warm during the cold months, which also prevents the growth of a long winter coat. Plant growth and coloration are also affected by environmental condition. Most plants grow towards light because it is needed for photosynthesis. Many flowering plants bloom during the summer while receiving many hours of sunlight. Other flowering plants bloom when days are shorter, such as in the fall season. Chemicals in the soil can affect growth and the blooming in plants. Some plants, like the hydrangeas, will bloom in different colors depending on the chemistry of the soil. So, although genetics plays the largest role in an organism's looks and behaviors, the environment can also have an impact. Some impacts are positive and help the organism survive, while others may be negative and cause species to have mutations or die out. So you're going to answer these questions and you can refer back to the article. For our exit today, it was a STAR test question. Scientists who study aquatic plants notice that flooding often leads to a decrease in the rate of photosynthesis among aquatic plants. Flooding causes more sediment to be suspended in the water. Increased sediment concentration decreases the amount of light that reaches the plants. Why does a decrease in photosynthesis lead to a decrease in plant population? So here the environmental change is a short term, it's flooding. Okay, and this flooding is causing sediments to go into the river, which is blocking photosynthesis. Why is the blocking of the photosynthesis causing a decrease in plant population? Well, there's less energy available for plant reproduction when the sun is blocked. So those plants in the water cannot photosynthesize.